Welcome everyone, this is Sage, welcoming you to the Executive Corner, the Expert Talks 20-minute roundup. And today we're very lucky to have Mr. Mark Sinclair, who is the co-founder of Spark Charts. And as you know, we bring you the industry leaders, successful business owners, market and equity advocates, all under the one roof to help you discover how you can earn passive income streams. And in today's show, we have Mr. Mark Sinclair. He's the co-founder of Spark Chart. And for some background, it is a powerful survey software tool at Spark Chart where you can create any type of survey and generate amazing reports instantly. So welcome, Mark. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, thanks, Sage. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. So let's not keep the audience waiting any longer. I'm sure they're very keen to hear from you. With clients in more than 100 countries, you are an Australian survey software company processing over 20 languages. How do you make lengthy and complex projects possible, please?
That's a good question to start with. Actually, clients subscribe to our cloud-based software and they access the survey software via a browser and an internet connection. So there's no software installation and access is instantaneous. So that gives them the tools to become a survey expert. And we support them with 24/7 advice from highly experienced survey experts. Myself, I've been involved in surveys and management consulting and feedback for more than 25 years. My co-founder, Dave, has also been involved for 20 plus years. So we bring that expertise. And in the process, we've applied that to building our software, which creates a range of efficiencies in the survey process. So it automates many steps that used to require manual work, and it significantly accelerates the time frame for conducting a survey. So you can design surveys quickly, either customize your own or download one of our templates and customize that or use it as is. You can apply complex conditional logic very easily to surveys, which gives a lot of control to what actually happens when someone answers the questions in a survey. So you could potentially, for example, end the survey if they answer a certain way or direct them down a different path depending upon their responses. And from there are a lot of deployment options to get the survey out in a whole lot of different mediums, from emailing out to social media, to websites and pop-ups, and you can track the process quickly and easily. From there, reports are generated instantly, and there are a whole lot of analytical tools for filtering the results, choosing different chart types, customizing the layout, and then you can share the reports with a link. So you can then present your results just with a web browser to different audiences, and you can customize it for different audiences. In fact, one of the features that our clients are particularly excited about, we released recently. We're not aware that any other survey tools have this, but you can send a link to the results to the survey and a report to anyone, and they can actually view and filter the results without being logged into a Spark Chart account. So we're pretty excited about that. On top of that, you can customize the branding, the logos, add images, video, and more. So there's a lot of flexibility with the software, and it does really make it easy for clients to conduct surveys that they would previously have had to use a consultant for.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that, Mark, and for sharing your passion around the project, because I can sense that a lot of work's gone into it from your end. And you've mentioned that you've got a combined expertise there with your partner, the co-founder, and you're really automating a process that is results driven and will help those busy business owners. So it sounds fantastic. The current scenario of the pandemic is unpredictable in terms of human decision-making behaviour, and probably rightly so, a very important time that we gain knowledge from the consumers about what they want and what they're expecting, how they're experiencing the changes that companies have been making. How do you think that the survey feedback system helps companies to navigate through these uncertain times?
Well, I think you're exactly right. It is uncertain time. But feedback is an essential element to management decision making. So surveys also provide employees, customers, stakeholders with a forum, a place to share their opinions, and for management to uncover the sort of hidden knowledge and ideas that might, they're not aware of. So we allow clients with our software and consultants, because we have many consultants that use our software with their clients, to conduct surveys with many different aims and objectives. You might want to engage employees and obtain their ideas and their opinions, assess customer perceptions of your business or your products or service, assess your team performance. Maybe you have a leadership team and you want to assess how we're performing as a team or as a board. What are the things that we need to do to what are we doing well, and what could we be doing better? And then from there, 360-degree feedback is a valuable tool for helping leaders get feedback on how they're performing at work. Plus, you've all probably heard of the Net Promoter Score, which is widely used to measure, give an overall measure of how your customers perceive your organisation and your services. So they're just a few ways that you could use surveys. But again, feedback's essential. It's central to everything we do in life. So if you're not getting feedback, you're making decisions in isolation of a whole lot of information that that may be hidden from you.
Exactly. That's such valuable insights there. And I love that you provide 24/7 support for this automated service. And you're so right. Without feedback, we're not going to know how we can improve and streamline the services and the way we operate to suit our colleagues and consumers. So having over 40 years of experience in the surveys and feedback industry, you have seen the progress very closely. And what do you think has changed tremendously over the years, and what's still prevailing in your opinion?
Yeah, look, the fundamentals of surveys haven't changed that much, But for a long time, organisations and managers were dependent upon specialist survey experts and consultants to design, manage the survey process, and to analyse and report the results. They're often exporting results into Excel spreadsheets and building charts, which can be a lengthy, complicated process. Surveys for a long time were all paper. Now it's instantaneous and electronic. And with electronic surveys, you can apply the conditional logic I mentioned before. You can apply it in surveys, whereas in the past it was very difficult to do that. In the past too, the survey technology used to be proprietary to consulting groups. So, individual organisations and managers didn't have access to it. They had to get consultants to come in to help. So the technology has transformed the process, and it's significantly reduced the cost of conducting survey projects, shortened the time frame to run the surveys, and it's eliminated much of the technical expertise that was needed to analyse results. So you can now launch them quickly, monitor the results in real time, and that allows faster action to be taken. It used to be expensive, whereas now feedback can be obtained and analysed at a very low cost.
Yes, the digital world, we're going faster and faster every day. The information transfer, information filtration, and it really would give a business a professional edge having this sort of data available to them. And what are your views on the client management in any business?
Look, you mentioned 24/7 support. In our view, and something we drive in our business, is that time is crucial for customers. And I subscribe to lots of other SaaS, software as a service, tools for a whole lot of things. And it's very frustrating for me when you need support and you lodge a ticket or you go and chat and you've got to wait sometimes days to get a response, or maybe 24 hours. Perhaps you're in a different part of the world and they're shut. I'm in Western Australia. A lot of businesses are based out of the United States, and if you're not asking the question between 9 to 5 in US time, you don't get a response until the next day. So we believe we need to be, to respond fast and minimize the time between the client question and providing solutions to their needs. So it's imperative to provide responsive expert service using many different channels, from online chat, email, help documentation, automated messaging, social media. There are a whole lot of forums where you can allow people to get the help they need. So for us, the 24/7 support is something we drive, and our average response time, I was looking just last week, is less than 3 minutes. So to first response. So we typically get very good feedback from our clients on that. And that would be my advice. Look at the way you're responding to your clients and make sure that you are giving them the help they need when they need it.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing those insights, and getting back to people within 3 minutes. That's something to be proud of, for sure. Can you give us a few tips, being a business owner yourself, can you give us a few tips on improving customer service for businesses? Where can we start?
Yeah, well, that's a good question too. There are many places you could start, but I often recommend starting with a Net Promoter Score survey if you haven't used that before. So Net Promoter Score, commonly known as NPS. Look, it's widely used to measure customer loyalty to your brand, your company, your product, or your service, and to establish a bit of a benchmark. And I'm sure many people, everyone out there will have seen it. NPS involves asking a single question, really. How likely is it that you would recommend our company, product, or service to a friend or colleague? And the scale you will have seen is 0 to 10, with 0 being not at all likely and 10 extremely likely. And all the other scale items, 1 to 9, don't have any values. So it's then left up to the customer to choose on that scale. And NPS has a calculation which ranges from positive 100 down to negative 100. And the more positive, that really equates to greater customer loyalty and a better experience, and negative is potentially much more serious. So it gives a single metric to focus on, and really it looks at adding up the percentage of people who are 9s and 10s who are considered to be promoters. It ignores the 7s and 8s. They're sort of passive. They haven't gone to 9 or 10, haven't come down. And then the 6s and belows are called detractors. This has been around for about 40 years or so. You can add other questions for more feedback, like an open-ended question to explore a bit further, but it gives a single metric for an organisation to focus on. There's no distraction. Our score is 30 or 35 or -5. And then that metric will go up or down based on the actions that management and staff take in the organisation. So for me, that's a great place to start, with a single metric. You can put it on your website, you can send it out to customers. How likely are you to recommend our company to a friend or colleague? 0 to 10. And it's a very quick and easy thing to do. You can do it on a regular basis too. There are other surveys you can do which can be valuable, longer surveys, but you don't want to be sending them out too often, because the other thing with customer surveys is you need to know your audience and think about your audience. If your customer's buying a television, you're not going to ask them 25 questions. They won't answer 25 questions. They might answer 1 or 2. I know the motor car companies, they send out questions, like 80 questions. And it's a long way, and people can abandon the survey. So if you've got a very close relationship with a client, you can ask more questions. If it's a more distant relationship, you need to be very, very precise. And that's where Net Promoter Score can be very useful.
Fantastic. Thank you for your insights there. And that's tried and true. Would you be willing to promote our services by word of mouth to a friend or a colleague? And sometimes it's as simple as that, isn't it? So not only the clients, but also the backbone of any company are its employees. And how can companies create high-performing teams with the support of a survey system? I believe you did touch on it a little bit earlier, but we'd love to hear more.
Yeah, sure. Well, look, I think the best way is to ask them. And that doesn't always happen. It's not always physically possible to go and talk to everyone. And, and that can be useful. It's certainly, you need to talk to your people. It's not always the most effective way because people are quite often less likely to speak openly and tell you what they really think. So surveys can be a really effective way to get a feel for the engagement levels and to elicit ideas and understand perceptions. So you can do quick employee pulse surveys or more detailed employee engagement surveys. Even a quick, similar to a net promoter score type survey for employees, I think is really valuable too. As an employee, how likely are you to recommend our company to a friend or colleague? But there are a few things to consider. First is you really should make it anonymous and give staff the freedom to speak honestly about how they're feeling and what's going well and what can be improved. And I would always give them the opportunity to talk about or answer questions about what's going well, because then it's easier for them to give negative feedback if they've actually answered some positive questions. Then they're not feeling they're giving, making everything negative. So try to construct the survey so it's going to encompass a broad range of competence areas where maybe you're doing well and maybe where you need to improve. One really important thing is to have clear policies for your employees. I think this is critical. You need to communicate very clearly with them the issues like, how is the data going to be treated? How anonymous is it? Who will have access to the results? And then the extent to which those results will be shared. And I really think it's important with an employee survey or a team survey, which is like a microcosm of the organisation, to share back with the team or the organisation what came out of it. And then obviously, the thing beyond that is what action are you going to take as a result of the feedback you're getting?
Absolutely. Actions are definitely what we hope to gain from this type of results-driven data capture. And you have helped thousands of leaders in the public, private and not-for-profit sectors based on your collaborations. What are the most significant learnings you'd like to pass on to our viewers, please?
Yeah, look, I think first of all, getting feedback needs to be a continuous and ongoing process. It shouldn't be a once a 2-year exercise or once a year exercise. As I said before, feedback is central to everything we do in life. It follows then for me that surveys and feedback are essential tools for leaders and managers. So don't do it on a once-off basis. You have to seek feedback on a regular basis. The second thing I'd say is that speed is imperative. Don't put it off to some point in the future to start getting feedback. And I'll often meet with a client, talk to a client and say, oh, look, we're considering doing an employee survey in 6 months' time. And I'm going, why don't you do it now? You can start and have the results in 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week, you can have the results. So if you're putting it off, you're missing 6 months worth of opportunity to act. So the faster you seek feedback, the faster you can act, recognize what's positive and what we need to improve. Thirdly, I'd say start with clear goals and objectives and use them as the basis for constructing the right questions to get the feedback you need. So often, clients don't have clear goals and objectives with their surveys. And finally, as I mentioned before, the key is to take action. If you conduct an employee survey or a customer survey, and then people don't see change, that can lead to disengagement. So action is ultimately what has got to come out of the survey.
Absolutely. Yes, and it helps people to take it seriously as well, because sometimes people might, think surveys just a bit of fluff, but when you get the right data and in the right conditions, I think there can really be vital information in those surveys. You must interact with many leaders. What are some of the trends that you see?
Yeah, I've sat down with countless leaders over the last 25 years, thousands. I mentioned 360-degree feedback before, and that's a really valuable process, in my view, to help leaders understand how they're perceived and to uncover their strengths and development needs. If I, as a leader, go up to my team members and ask them how I'm performing, I'll probably get the same. They're going to tell me I'm doing a great job. They're not going to tell me the things that I need to work on. So 360 feedback is a process where individual leaders get feedback from the people they work closely with. It's mostly provided anonymously, and I recommend making it anonymous via a survey. And typically you'll get feedback from your manager, you'll do a self-assessment, your staff that report to you, the peers and the close stakeholders that you might interact with on a regular basis. And look, we've helped many leaders in that way, and I've seen some themes emerge. They don't apply to all leaders, obviously, but I do see some trends. And the common strengths we most often see in leaders are results focus, technical skills, accepting accountability, commercial acumen, and planning and organising. So if you think about it, most people rise to a leadership role because they develop and demonstrate those skills in their non-leadership roles. The skills that most commonly come out in a 360 process that I've seen across leaders are people-related: coaching and developing people, managing performance, managing conflict, delegating, leading change, and sort of building teamwork. People don't usually get much of a chance to develop those skills until they assume a leadership role. So they're critical for motivating and managing people. And they can have a tremendous impact on organisational performance. So for me, I think 360 is a valuable tool. You need to provide some forum where you get feedback about what they're doing well and where they can improve. And so I recommend considering that process.
Spot on. And there's no I in team. That's, that is a phrase that resonates with what you're saying. And without each other, we can't really grow and develop, regardless of what your position is. I mean, no doubt you need to have respect for the hierarchy in organisations, but yes, good leaders are good followers as well. Lastly,
yes, technology. My team works very well. I have a son who plays basketball, and there are a few players in his team that could focus on that. It's not an individual game. 5 players on the court can beat 5 players, whereas 1 player can't beat 5.
Spot on. Couldn't have said it better myself. That's so true. And lastly, I would love to stay and chat for longer, but we've got one last point to raise here. Technology is ever evolving, and the surveying process needs a lot of technical support, from having the right software or data management. What would you say works best in the industry right now? And where do you see technological advances taking this industry in the future?
So that's a really, really good question. Look, there are many very good survey tools available out there, not just our tool. There are many of them. They can save significant time and cost when conducting surveys, and they automate much of the process. Where we see many survey projects fail is due to poor survey design. And this is not a fault of the survey software. I guarantee I've got in my emails now probably a half a dozen different surveys. And the issue lies usually in the person constructing the survey itself, and the support available to that survey creator. So, we've got several goals ourselves. We want to create great survey software with all the features and support documentation and help necessary for a successful survey. And we're constantly building new features and adding new features. And there are lots of changes happening in the industry, but there are lots of different tools for different types of surveys that you might run. We've got more of a all-encompassing tool where you can do any type of survey, whereas there are other tools that might focus purely on Net Promoter Score or purely on engagement surveys. But so first of all, we want to create a great survey that covers all of the different types of surveys you do. Because of the survey design issue, we provide a wide range of high quality survey templates, which can be used as is, but also allow our clients to customize if they want to. So they can click a button, download an employee engagement survey or a Net Promoter Score or a board performance survey. And then that can be tailored and customized. So having a high quality survey is really important, and that's where we see most of them fall down. And that also links to having clear goals and objectives for the survey. If you're not clear on what the goals and objectives are, how can you really define a survey? And look, as an objective, for example, you might have a high level goal to get feedback about a particular client base in a particular area. An objective, if you don't think about it clearly, one objective might be around the demographics of your audience. If you don't ask the questions about the demographics, then you can't filter the results by those demographics, and you're going to miss the opportunity to really explore the data in a way. So survey design really is crucial. And then I think the support from survey experts is important, and that's what we focus on. The number of times I ring a call center and my bank and they can't deal with our specific needs, because then you've got to go on to someone else and repeat what you've been asking. So the first interaction, getting expert support and advice along with the great software, and then some other tools around that's really vital for us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing your insights today. You're obviously putting a lot of thought and effort into streamlining a process that will make it easier for businesses to attain this sort of results-driven and action-orientated information. So what a fabulous show. Thank you. Was there any last words or parting words you'd like to share with the audience before we finish up? As I said before, I think getting feedback on a continuous basis is an imperative for organisations. But at the end of the day, it's the action you take as a result of getting that feedback. Don't live in the dark, get the feedback. I often liken it to a mirror. Feedback can be confronting. We often don't want to look in that mirror and see what it says. We'd rather sort of just go along hoping it's all okay in the background. So my challenge to everyone out there would be, if you're not getting the feedback, go ahead and ask, because if you don't know what they're thinking, you can't do anything about it. Exactly. Helps people to stay objective, I suppose.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Mark. So that's Mark from Spark Charts, and it was lovely chatting with you. Thank you for your time again. And with that, this is Sage signing off, and watch this space for more. Until then, as we say, stay apprised and invest wise with 𝐊𝐚𝐥𝐤𝐢𝐧𝐞.